Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full-line merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed-out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Till it's 13, about to get the gas, get the gas, get the gas. Until it's 17, about to till it's 17, about to get the gas, get the gas, get the gas. Until it big man, about to till it big man, about to get the gas, get the gas, get the gas, get the gas. Until it go time.
Man, that's a hell of a video there, JB. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show, live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. The man to my right is the esteemed Terry Foster. Great to have you with me again today. With us in the TD booth, we've got JB Smoove, and in the sound booth, we have Brandon Dent, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid. And we were talking before the show, Terry, and I thought this was an interesting thing, and I want to pose this question to everybody in the audience and to everybody in this room. One, that NFC Championship game loss was on Sunday, and now we are on Thursday. We've already gotten the news that Ben Johnson has returned as offensive coordinator. I think that has softened the blow for a lot of people, myself included. But I know a lot of you are still probably hurting, and we're hurting for a little while. So what is it that you guys did to get yourself through the depression of that game? Did you stress eat? Did you drink? Did you exercise? Did you not sleep? Did you maybe call off work or something for a day? And
or maybe you just moped around.
Maybe you just moped around. And in the next segment, I actually want to take some calls and get you guys' perspective on that. Getting off to an early start taking calls. 313-552-6322 is the phone number if any of you want to type that in the chat, Kool-Aid or JB, and get it pinned. We're going to take calls really early in the next segment. But before we hear from the voice from the people, Terry, what did you do? Or were you just over it right away?
Well, see, you shouldn't ask me. I didn't care. I cared that I wanted to see a good game, but it didn't affect me that way. But I kept running to people, and they were moping around. Oh my God, the line! And I'm like, okay, I understand that. I get you because you've gone through so many things. But I wasn't depressed. It was like I was disappointed in this fan base because I've always thought about these fans and what they want to see. I know people were making reservations for Las Vegas. We were going to have fun. We're going to have a good time. And then it was taken away from them. But, I've been out yesterday, as late as yesterday. People were moping around still talking about the loss and how they can't get over it. But I think from my standpoint, you have to understand, yeah, you can be depressed, but you have to understand that this franchise and this organization has to move on. Because there's one or two ways the Lions can take this. One, use this as their pain and anger to fuel them for the future, or they can be like the rest of the fan base and be, oh, man, we let it get away. And then you know what? That'll affect their season.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because Chuck Brewer in the chat actually says, sorry, I had no depression. I look forward to an improved future. And, hey, you don't have to apologize. Honestly, good for you that you were able to have that kind of a perspective because, it certainly wasn't easy. And King DOSA, this is a funny one because I think when he says soften the blow a little bit, I think that refers to Ben Johnson coming back. Then I went back depressed, so maybe he was one of the people that you saw moping around all day yesterday. But you know what? It was a tough loss, and I'm not mad at you for any response that you guys may have. And JB, and for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, JB put out a video yesterday on his personal Twitter at JB Up Next that you guys should all go check out. Just kind of giving that perspective that I think Lions fans need at this point because it was a tough loss, but there is a bright future. For those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, go ahead and explain that a little bit, JB.
Oh, appreciate the shout out. But
of course.
Yeah, I just had to get a couple things off my chest. Just, of course, we're already upset as it is, heartbreak in the city. But, there are brighter days. There is a better future. And for me, yeah, I was a little upset. I'm not going to lie. You need like 2 or 3 days just to cope with everything. But now I think I'm finally over with. But to your guys' point, yeah, I was moping around the house a lot. My girl was like, come on, you got to get out of this funk. You got to You got to do something, play your video games, whatever it is, but you got to get out of this whole funk.
What about sex?
Sex was on the table. Sex was on the table, but hey, I just stood there after the game and literally had my Stephon Diggs moment. I just stood there while the 49ers accepted their trophy and just moped for a while. But you know what? It's been a couple days. I think I'm over it now.
Ooh, and it's funny that you mentioned that, Terry, because sex is actually a coping mechanism that I'm sure some people use if they have that option at their disposal. I hope that you all do, by the way, because I want you guys all to be happy. And a dirty Dr. D, I think this is how a lot of people are feeling. Today is the first day I feel better about next season. And we touched on Ben Johnson a lot yesterday. I don't want to get into it too much, but I think one of the reasons why a lot of us were feeling so bad, other than the heartbreaking loss, the blown halftime lead, is that we all kind of assumed, yeah, we got that close and now we're going to lose Ben Johnson. But we're not losing Ben Johnson. So that is certainly a source of happiness that we can
well, I'm happy to hear that people are over it today. But for those who are not, isn't it time to put in your big boy pants and say, okay, they lost the game, let's move on? Because here's the thing that we do in Detroit. We get all swelled up. Detroit, yeah, we tough, we bad. We keep moving on. But then you let this Lions loss linger for 3 or 4 days and you're walking around like you lost your mama or something like that. We supposed to be the D. We supposed to be badasses, right?
Yeah.
But I thought a lot of people act like bitches for a little bit too long.
It's a tough loss, though, man.
Like I give you Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday, man, go play with the kids or something.
Well, if you let it affect your life too much, yeah, I agree with you. But if you can still play with your kids and compartmentalize a little bit, but still be sad, I think that's probably the place that is most realistic for people to be at right now. And speaking of which, I mean, Detroit Kool-Aid, that's probably a way that you coped with it. I mean, how are you feeling on a Thursday? What have you done to help deal with the depression? And was, playing with your kids and spending time with them?
I was really, really, really down. I was going through my head and just reenacting everything that they could have done to do better. But after the Ben Johnson news, you guys might have seen it on Woodward Nights. To me, it was like, you know what? Pick your head up and act like you guys belong. That's kind of where my mindset has been, because this team believes in that. I like looking through all of their quotes from Penei Sewell to Amon-Ra St. Brown to Dan Campbell. Those guys were pissed. They weren't necessarily moping. I saw like work in their eyes. Like, let's get back to the table. Let's get back to the grind. And let's make sure that next year we are prepared for this, so we don't let down the fans, so we don't let down our team anymore.
Yeah, I think everybody should look at that Penei Sewell interview after the game. You're right. That wasn't depression. That's I'm pissed off. We jacked this whole thing up. And so if you have that attitude and you carry it into next season, you're going to be a better team. You can be a closer team, because I like when teams are angry. I like when teams have that gristle on them. But if they're going around moping like, then that's a different thing right there. But Penei Sewell, man, that's my guy now, because he was really, really angry. He knows they messed up. He probably felt that there's things that they need to do as a team. They're a good team, but now I think what the Lions realize now, they got to work on the mental game. And, yeah, they're mentally tough in week 5 against the Bears or week 5 against Denver, whatever. But when it's time to move on and claim a championship, that's a different mindset. You have to be even tougher. Yeah. So if nothing else, this team understands what it takes mentally to be in a situation like this, and they'll be better the next time.
Because sometimes I wondered, realistically, throughout their playoff run, there were certain games where they looked really, really confident. But I wonder if they thought, hey, we're playing a little bit better than even we thought we would come into the season, just like us fans did. But when you're sitting there with everything on the line and you realize that you do belong, you almost feel like you definitely, not almost, you let one slip. This wasn't like, wow, we were clearly the weaker team and, the better team just rolls up. What I saw in their face was determination. I saw disappointment from a different standpoint, not just a loss, but from the fact that they know they should have won, that they were the better team, and that they could have competed on that Super Bowl stage as well.
It's funny that you mentioned that, too, about how they might have thought, even the players themselves that, man, this is easier than we think. Because I get it, the Rams game was close and the Buccaneers game ended up being close, and it was a one-score game for a lot of it. But up until the fourth quarter of the NFC Championship game, the Lions hadn't trailed the whole postseason. It was just the wild card game never trailed, the divisional game never trailed, the entire first half of the NFC Championship game never trailed. So I think maybe they got a little bit complacent. I know that the mental toughness thing when it comes to a lot of things going wrong, like that Brandon Ayuk catch, the not getting the fourth down, the Josh Reynolds drop after the 49ers had tied it. Those are things that, as a young team, it's probably hard to come back from, considering they hadn't been there before. I know guys like Jared Goff and C.J. Gardner-Johnson had, but as a team, this is a young team that's ahead of schedule. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They went from no playoffs to NFC Championship game 17-point halftime lead. That's got to be overwhelming for any player.
No, you notice Jared Goff played well from start to end. So he wasn't phased because I've been here before. But then Josh Reynolds and other people melted under the pressure.
Oh, they most certainly
and so did our fan base here.
Well, and if you want to work on not melting under pressure, get your workout in at Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. At Planet Fitness, you'll experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month, no commitment. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
1, 2, 3, 4. Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
Thank you to all the fans for making Woodward Sports your #1 online destination for Detroit sports. We promise not to drop the ball.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
What up, Woodward Sports? Dispo Dispensary is bringing you the ultimate experience for the big game in Vegas, and they want you there. You can win 2 tickets to the big game, plus a flight, hotel, and accommodations by following these simple steps. First, follow Dispo.Michigan, @ShowMedicated, and @ShowMedicatedCBD on Instagram. Like Dispo's pinned post, comment and tag someone you love to bring. Plus, if you repost on your story, you get an extra entry. It's that easy. Join the Dispo family for a chance to score in Vegas. The big game awaits. Follow, like, tag, and repost now.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, live on the Woodward Sports Network. And right now we are talking, are you over the Lions' loss? How did you cope with it? Did you mope around? Did you stress eat? Did you drink? Did you exercise? Did you even have to get some comfort from the wife or kids or anything like that? Tell us all what you had to do. And Kool-Aid, you said we've got somebody on the line who called in. Who do we got?
Yeah, we got Eduardo in Orlando.
Eduardo in Orlando. How are you feeling the Thursday after the NFC Championship game loss? Eduardo? No Eduardo?
He's
Nope.
on there.
All right, we will.
Maybe he can't hear us.
Eduardo?
Eduardo, can you hear me? I can hear.
Hello?
Eduardo.
Oh, there you go.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Yep.
hear you.
Yeah, good morning, guys. I'm going to
morning.
be honest with you guys. I was over this on Monday.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. Like, I woke up in shock, you know, but now I'm good, you know, and you don't know what helped, you know, because we're all, you know, FTP. The Packers blew a 16-point lead to Seattle in the NFC title game about 10 years ago. The minute I found that out, I was like, you know what? We're not alone. And on top of that, if we were going to blow a 17-point lead, I would have rather it been San Francisco than Green Bay. So, you know what? I'm all head to next season. Brad just needs to bring us a corner, and, you know, we're going to be all good. Thank you for taking my call.
You know what would have been worse, blowing that 17-point lead against the L.A. Rams.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford coming in, going down 17, and then doing his little Stafford rally and winning, and that would have been even worse.
With Kelly on the field with the kids.
Yeah, I know.
And all that. No, one of my coping mechanisms, actually, he just stated it too, man. I don't even know if it's a weak mindset or not. But after that loss, the one thing I kept thinking is, well, it's better than if we would have lost to the Packers. That would have been insufferable. This is one in which you don't want to lose in that type of position, but at least it's not to the Pack show. I still think we would have beat them, though.
Yeah, the Packers or the Bears, your divisional teams who thinks you're chumps anyway, you don't want to give them more fuel.
Yeah, and he brings up too one of the, I would say probably the worst, one of the worst choke jobs of the 21st century when it comes to NFC Championship games. The 2014 one where the Packers had a 16-0 lead over the Seahawks and ended up losing that one. That was the closest approximation to what the Detroit Lions did. But I think that this Lions team right here, right now, is more well set up for the future than that Packers team. So yeah, that's and also, given the fact that they won a couple of playoff games, they had a successful season already, it does make the pain go away to some extent. But yeah, Eduardo, that was a great call. I'm glad that you were able to have that perspective. Like, I want the people to be happy. I don't want people to be suffering in depression right now. When Freddie felt 313, actually, I called into Woodward Nights and refuted that sentiment. I'm tired of the cliche Detroit shit. We're tough. We're resilient. We're allowed to be vulnerable. This shit stings. And yeah, when you're 2 quarters away from a Super Bowl appearance and you have a 17-point lead, that absolutely does sting. I just hope that some of the things that we mentioned, some like with Ben Johnson coming back with a successful season, with how they're set up for the future, that it can help. But at the same time, Freddie, I'm not gonna lie, it still stings a little bit for me too. Is he being a baby though?
No, I'm not gonna call him a baby.
Okay, all right.
But I at this point with Ben Johnson, that's a huge Band-Aid on this wound.
Yes.
Huge, because we all knew he was gone. He was going somewhere. He's going to get a job. But I think what Ben Johnson basically said is he set a real high salary expectation, even though his agent said it wasn't true. But he was basically telling these teams, I don't really want to go there, but if you pay me this stupid money, I will. I'd rather stay here in Detroit. Because I think I can win a championship here. I feel comfortable here. And why would I want to go somewhere else, even though I'm the head man, and not have success when I know Detroit's about to roll for the next few years?
Yeah, and he probably made the right move, because you never know when you go to these organizations like the Washington Commanders, for example, that have been... Well, they don't have Daniel Snyder anymore, but for the entire 21st century, they've pretty much been an also-ran, and they were 4-13 last year. They've got some hope for the future, but with the Lions, we're talking about the possibility of being a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. And I know that's nobody wants to say Super Bowl and Lions in the same sentence right now and jinx them or anything like that, but that should be the expectation for next year.
All right, let me ask you this question, bro.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Commanders, right?
Yeah.
In the next 10 years, will Philadelphia win that division?
Yes, probably, yeah.
Okay, will Dallas win that division?
Probably, yeah.
And will the Eagles win that division?
Well, you said Philly, and then you said the Eagles.
Philly. I'm sorry. Dallas, you say they'll win.
Probably.
So we said Philly, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you this question. Will the Commanders win it in the next 10 years?
Yes. I think maybe once or twice.
That was a long pause.
Well,
though.
no. There's no real, but that's the thing. Like when it comes to the Eagles and the Cowboys, they have recent success. They have great players, even though none of those teams ultimately got to the promised land. You think that they're going to be back. When it comes to Washington, you think. Maybe not. When it comes to the New York Giants, hell, you never know about them. And Kool-Aid, who do we got on the line next?
Hey, we got Vin from Virginia. He said he watches and supports every single morning.
Vin from
beautiful.
Virginia. Thank you so much for calling in. How are you feeling on this Thursday following the Sunday's NFC Championship game loss?
You know, these couple of days I've just been kind of going back and forth trying to justify just being aggressive and maybe being a little bit more smart. I'm kind of over it. But, you know, the Ben Johnson news is very uplifting. And, you know, we got next year to look forward to, the free agency, the draft, all that. I guess I'm trying to see what your guys' thoughts are on, you know, Dan Campbell's coaching style. We know he's really aggressive. Do you think our team needs him to be that way to win? I don't know. I guess I lean more towards him. Yeah, I like his aggressiveness, but I would like to see him be a little bold, maybe show a little bit more awareness. I don't know how you would explain it, but just your thoughts.
You know what? I think when this team gets better and better and better, he will back down from that. You know, he always says, well, I did it because I have confidence in my offense. Or, here's the thing he doesn't say. Maybe he did it because he did not have confidence in his defense, did not have confidence in his place kicker. But he spins it so, well, I have faith in my guys, but I think he doesn't have faith in certain aspects. But when they build this team, you don't have to take all these silly risks. You still have to take some because you want to keep people on edge and keep them off balance. But I think that's going to diminish when he feels good about this roster from top to bottom. He's not going to say this, but I don't think he feels good about this entire roster. That's why he does this.
Yeah, I would probably, I think that's well said for the most part. I think moving forward, Vin, that it's going to be maybe situational. I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but to me, I liked a lot of the fourth down decisions that Dan Campbell had made throughout the season. I think it helped the Lions win some games, and obviously I think we're all aboard the Dan Campbell train. If you're not at this point, I think that's a little bit short-sighted, and I assume you are as well, Vin. But I don't know, to me, and I'll stand by this, and I'm not trying to be Mr. Hindsight. I would have taken the 45-yard field goal attempt up 24-10 to maybe give them a 17-point lead. That's what I personally would have done. But at the end of the day, Dan Campbell's aggression has, I think, overall been a net positive for this team. And hopefully in the offseason when the Lions make some additions to that defense, some guys who they already have get even better, hopefully he'll have more confidence in them moving forward. Because if he says he has complete confidence in them, I'm not saying they were terrible, but I think Dan Campbell would be lying to some extent.
See, I don't have any problems with him not going for it then, but when you can tie the game up, you know, really, if you're a playoff team, let's forget about them blowing the 17-point lead. If you are a road playoff team and you can say, hey, we're playing the last 6 minutes tied, you take that because it's a 50-50 shot. You're on the road. You're playing the number one seed. That's the position he needed to put himself in. Now, I keep hearing, oh, Dan Campbell cost him the game. No, Josh Reynolds cost him the game. The offensive line cost him the game. The fumble with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jared Goff cost them the game. We ignore the 30 to 35 plays where they were totally outplayed, and we just look at one thing and say, well, you know, if he kicked that field goal, they probably would have won. No, they wouldn't have because they were getting their asses kicked. We never like to admit that our teams are inferior. But on that afternoon, in that one half, the Lions were an inferior team.
Well, yeah, they were. And I think we all knew going in that they were the less talented team. It's just in the first half, they actually basically physically beat the piss out of the 49ers. In the second half, as you said, it took the 49ers taking advantage of the comedy of errors in which the Lions did commit. I think the coaching staff, I think the players, they're all culpable to some extent. But when you blow a 27-0 halftime lead, it's not as simple as saying, oh, Dan Campbell cost them a game. Oh, just Josh Reynolds. Oh, just Jahmyr Gibbs. It was everything in conjunction along with the 49ers just being a damn good team and being able to take advantage of everything. And for all of you guys who are still on the phone, our next segment, we are going to get to John Maakaron, the doc, the esteemed guest on this show on Thursdays. And we're going to break down the game with him because I'm sure he has a lot to say. But after that, we're going to take some more calls. We're going to try to get to all of you today. But first, I have to tell you about Premier Pet, my favorite breed, because I get to brag a little bit about my golden retriever, Jake, and my orange cat, Milo, who I get all of the best toys, treats, and food from Premier Pet. Give your pet the best like I give my pet the best. Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Same prices and all the conveniences of the online and big box retailers. With one major difference, family and locally owned and operated for 30 plus years. Over 60 brands of food with nutrition experts to help you. Same day, local, curbside, and home delivery. Premier Pet Supply, give your pet the best. Visit their website at premierpetsupply.com.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Game is won in the trenches, and our big fellas don't mess around. The Woodward Heavyweights on Woodward Sports.
Oh, yeah. Nothing. G-G-G-G-A. Oh, sorry. I forgot. There we go. Oh, cheers, buddy. I think we need to get you a pick.
R.I.P. to the same old Lions. Big thanks to Sheila, Brad, and Dan for putting them to rest. And guess what else has found the grave? Same old rock, paper, scissors. Jack Labrador has revolutionized that tired game with 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. Discover the action at jacklabrador.gg now and find out why, once you go Jack, you never go back. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. We've got Terry Foster to my right, JB Smoove in the TD booth, and Brandon Kool-Aid Dent in the sound booth. And joining us, as always, on Thursdays, the one, the only, John the Doc Maakaron. And unfortunately, I wish we're talking under better circumstances. I know the Lions won. They didn't win. They went to the NFC Championship game, which was a successful season, but they did end up losing, blowing a 17-point halftime lead. And we asked this to the audience. We got some callers. We got some people in the chat. But John, how have you been coping with that, with Sunday's loss?
Man. Guys, thank you for having me. Terry, always good to see you. Everyone.
You too. Hey, big fella. I got bad news for you. I'm about to change your name. You Doc Mac now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Man, let me tell you something.
Oh, the Mac Doctor.
It was tough. It was tough. Like everybody else, I felt the hope in that first half when you saw the Lions dominate the 49ers, go into Levi Stadium and take care of business. Everybody was thinking, I started to picture Dan Campbell holding the Lombardi Trophy, Sheila Hemp celebrating in Las Vegas. And then what happened in the second half was a choke job of all ages. And when you look at it, nobody was able to stop the bleeding. Not the coaches, not any of the players on the Lions. And you recognize once the momentum shifted, it was gone. And just like that, in a span of 8 minutes, your 17-point lead is gone. And in a blink of an eye, the Lions were eliminated, and the hope and the dream of winning a Super Bowl was gone. And I think many people felt like the Lions, playing the way they did the first 30 minutes of that game, could win a Super Bowl. And when that hope was opened, I think that's what makes the feeling Monday and Tuesday and even Wednesday, that is something you don't get over, the way in which they lost. And so for me, yeah, the Ben Johnson news definitely helps to continue to fuel that hope in the future that this football team can compete and win something. But the reason why many people feel so down is you feel like you just blew a major opportunity right now this year to speed up your rebuild and win a championship right now in the here and now with this team that everybody grew to like. In the future, there's going to be 30% turnover. New guys are going to be coming in. So I think people feel really down because this football team was likable and was on the verge of greatness.
You know, I have a philosophy that if you're going to be a championship team, you have to have some pain somewhere in your suitcase. And I want to ask you, you know, after talking to players after this game, what was the piss off level at from 0 to 10?
Oh, look, Terry, you look at it. When you look at the Detroit Lions franchise, Terry, let me be honest. Let me ask you, haven't we had enough pain? Haven't we suffered enough as a fan base? The last time the Lions in this position in 1991, they get their ass beat. So you have this large span before you get this great head coach in Dan Campbell. You recognize this football team has been down in the dumps, been really irrelevant. Now you get this season where you get 12 wins going into the postseason. You show your fan base 2 wins in the playoffs, and to lose like that where, look, guys, you were in it, you were competing, and Josh Reynolds, who's been sure-handed, chokes, drops the football. And you recognize, of course, no, the locker room, you could sense really, it was really down in the dumps, really sad. Like in a blink of an eye, all their hopes and dreams were gone. But you know who represents the piss on that football team, and it's great, is Penei Sewell. He's like, look, all that shit in the past is done. We move forward, and now they got that motivation. And look, they all said the right things about having hope, but they all knew. And guys, too, here's part of the reason why many people are freaking out a little bit and still nervous. Dan Campbell stood in front of the media and said, I told the guys this might be your only shot. Now, he did elaborate further and say, you know, I don't believe that, but life in the NFL is hard. It's an ever-changing football league, and when you have that opportunity and it's right there, you can't choke it away. And guys, if you give, like you guys always say, if you gave Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell some truth serum, I think they believed they could have won it this year with the schedule, low contracts, and the way in which some injuries shook out for other teams. They will tell you they felt they could win the Super Bowl this year.
But they'll be better in the future. But I understand what Dan Campbell was saying, because in 1991 or 92, whatever you want to call it, after I talked to Lion players then, specifically Robert Porcher, this is the first of many to come. And he was talking about at least NFC championship games, and he thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl, multiple ones. That's what they thought at that time. So I understand where Dan Campbell is coming from, but I think they're in a different situation now because these are young pups. They don't really know what's happening in the league yet. They will develop that. And you mentioned, hasn't the fan base gone through enough? You're right. They've gone through too much, but Penei Sewell hasn't gone through this with the Detroit Lions. Aiden Hutchinson, maybe you could say he has because he lives here. But these players haven't gone through that pain and agony that the fan base is going to. But now they understand what the hell is going on here now, and I think that's going to help them down in the future. That's just me.
Oh, no doubt. They understand what it takes to win. And I think the message that Dan said for next year, he set the tone right away. He said it's going to take twice as much work. But Terry, you look at it, and here's where the advantage the Lions had this year. All the players had reasonable contracts. Now upcoming, you're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown maybe making a significant amount of money. Penei Sewell getting a hefty raise. And the big number, Jared Goff. And look, yeah, I trust Brad Holmes will put together a roster knowing how these contracts all fit together. But you see, look, Brock Purdy is making $800K versus Jared Goff's $25 million. So you realize now when Jared Goff's salary doubles, that means you're going to have to let go of a player that was a fit in Jonah Jackson. So there's no guarantee that this thing rolls to the level of success that many people would have felt could have happened now. Look, the blessing and the hope moving forward, this football team should be in the postseason regularly. You're not going to have 30-year droughts. But what's really tough is, and what's hard to keep hope is, can this football team compete when there's a Patrick Mahomes, one of the legendary quarterbacks already out there? You get Joe Burrow in the AFC. You get Lamar Jackson, who also is tasting the sting and the wrath of the national media, calling him a bust and a fraud. So you realize how hard it is to get to the mountaintop. This year represented an opportunity to get there now, but for this football team, of course, the window's open. But in the NFL, it shuts real fast. But I have hope this football team's going to rebound, and that grit that they establish will help. But next year, guys, it's a first-place schedule. You're going to play the creme de la creme of the NFL. Let's see how they stack up.
That is right. And there is, everybody says, well, same old Lions is dead. No, it's not. There is one more hurdle for them to overcome. The same old Lions in 1990, they would win 11 games one year and then 5 the next. They went to the NFC Championship game and then stunk the next few years. So I think the last hurdle to officially get rid of same old Lions is for them to rebound with that first place schedule and don't win like 5 or 6 games, something stupid like that. They can't do that. That's the last hurdle in my mind.
No doubt. I think the pieces are in place. When you have a quarterback that the entire world respects, you realize, I think what gives me excitement and what should give everybody excitement in an offensive league next year, get your money out and pay to get to Ford Field. You're going to see Sam Laporta, who's going to be in his second year, and I think he's going to dominate the NFL. You get Jamison Williams, who Sam even now likes and respects. That's a huge hurdle for J-Mo to cross. If Sam Flannel is now saying nice things, my goodness. And then you get Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think is going to be one of the beneficiaries of Ben Johnson coming back. This football team will compete. It's going to be a grinded out season. You're going to play a lot of good teams on the road, but this is what you want. This year you didn't play the toughest schedule, but next year you played the creme de la creme, and I think that will also help this football team maybe even secure, I think, the biggest goal. I think Dan Campbell's got to shine that goal right away from day one. If this football team can get the number 1 seed and play every game at Ford Field, that place has been now established as a place that other teams don't want to come. And I think that it'll give the fan base and this football team a realistic shot to get back there and get to New Orleans next year.
Oh yeah, and I think I appreciate the talk that we've had so far. I think it's a good on one hand autopsy of the season, but also there's a lot of hope. But I have to ask the ultimate question. It is something that I am still wrestling with because obviously it's been less than a week out. Is this season ultimately going to be looked back upon, the 2023 season, as the greatest season in Lions history, or like at least in the Super Bowl era up to this point, like a massive success or a missed opportunity?
No, it's a massive success because you look at it and Dan Campbell has put the Detroit Lions back on the map. We're talking, all throughout in the past, we would talk about the draft in January, and now we got to talk about a football team that was in the postseason and playing the elites of the game. And you recognize this football team has been built the right way in the trenches. You got dogs at different positions on the offensive line and defensive line. You guys saw the photo of Aiden Hutchinson and Penei Sewell walking off the field. Those two guys battling every week only made each other better. You got a great wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, who represents the grit and the hardworking attitude of this city. And Jared Goff, the ultimate comeback kid. I think that this year was a welcome back to the NFL season for the Lions. And guys, look, even Dan Campbell gained some experience coaching in the big time moment. Look, we can debate his decisions and that's all great. But for Dan Campbell, if you look at the leader of the team, he got to coach against Kyle Shanahan, match wits, see what it's like when the fire is the hottest. And yeah, the team came up short in the second half, and it was a total collapse. But if it happens again and the Lions are back in the NFC Championship game, all those experiences that they just got will be worth it. And I think Dan Campbell is one of the easiest coaches to back. And I think that one day Dan Campbell is going to hoist the Lombardi Trophy for the fan base to celebrate. The formula's there, the right mix is there, and this season, yes, it's going to hurt. You'll never forget the pain of being that close to greatness. But when you look back, when the time comes and the Lions win it all, it'll actually make it that much better.
All right, here's a big question for you. Dan Campbell said that he does not regret passing up that field goal that could have tied the game. Do you believe him?
No, I don't. No, I do not. You look at it. I think in the biggest moments, Terry, you look at it. It's tough. There's split-second decisions. I looked at it and took time to kind of think about it. Yeah, you have your instant reactions, but I look at it. 2 of the 3 decisions that he made, I think he would switch. And he said it. He said, you know what? I don't regret anything. And yeah, he's always going to stand by his decisions. But he said, you know what? If you really want to make an argument, he said, I think I'm going to second guess the second quarter decision to kick the field goal. The man's been aggressive. You're at the 2-yard line. Punch it in. Score the touchdown. The one that I'm okay with is the Josh Reynolds 4th and 2. No problems there. You're early in the third quarter. You expect a good play call and execution. Josh Reynolds choked and dropped the football. The one that is killer that you recognize, my goodness, you got to tie the game. If you recognize the defense and the situation that you're in, your defense is not going to be something that you trust to stop the 49ers. So you tie the game with less than 8 minutes left, and if they score a touchdown, you still have a chance. If you don't execute, and what did the 49ers do? They brought pressure and made Jared Goff run, which is the worst thing possible. I think you look at it and you say it was a complete collapse from the top down, and when he looks at it and he goes, my goodness, all we had to do was kick the field goal and hope to give a chance to tie the game and have an opportunity to get the football back one more time. You got to give yourself options. You got to give yourself a little bit of leeway, and I understand your belief that if you go there and you have the football still, that's what you like to do. But in the end, no, I'm sure he's kicking himself for the 2nd down, 4th down decision and the one at the end of the game. No doubt about it.
Well, yeah, you mentioned it. That 4th and 3 when they had a chance to tie the game. That one, it never worked from the beginning. Jared Goff had pressure. He had to roll out, and then he threw it to basically no man's land. At least with the one where they were up 24-10, the Josh Reynolds drop. The play should have worked. Josh Reynolds just dropped it. I would have kicked the field goal there, but at least with that one, you say Josh Reynolds just choked. If he would have not choked, their Lions are probably in the Super Bowl. And Hoofhearted says something in the chat that I actually disagree with, and I think we have to mention this. Each season is a missed opportunity for 31 of the 32 teams. Well, there are levels to this because 31 out of the 32 teams don't have 17-point leads at halftime in the NFC Championship game, and that to me is why, even though there is a lot of things to look forward to, the Lions are definitely set up for future success. They showed that they could play with pretty much any team in the NFL. I would argue that in the first half of the game against the 49ers, they were as good as any team in the NFL. That team wins a Super Bowl. But that being said, the second half happened, and it was still a missed opportunity. So is this something, and I hate to bring this up, but it has to be done because they lost. Is this a loss that could haunt the franchise, at least until they win again, until they actually win one?
Okay, real fast, Hoofhearted. Look, there's something these fans do that really bothers me. I don't give 2 shits what other teams in the NFL do. Half of the general managers are stupid, don't know what they're doing. Half of the head coaches don't understand analytics. Half of the coaches don't understand the importance of having a quarterback. So what the other teams do means jack shit. It doesn't mean anything. What you have to look at is what this football team is trying to accomplish. And in 3 years, they were able to get to the postseason and to be within 30 minutes of the Super Bowl. Now it's great. Now you're in the position where everybody knows what you're about. You got the whole league talking about your physicality, about your players, about your roster. We're not talking about silly things like curses and nonsense and things like that. We're talking about X's and O's and decisions and roster construction and contract allocation. We're talking about real football issues. And yeah, it's a missed opportunity, but at the same time, if there was different leadership in place, I would be much more nervous. Now I'm getting fired up because I trust that Brad Holmes is going to bring in 5 new dudes in the draft that are going to compete and develop. I like what the second and third year guys are going to accomplish. They're going to develop. You got a quarterback that's got a level head on his shoulders. Yeah, he's got weaknesses, but he's got enough talent and wherewithal and experience to help you get back to the promised land. Before, there would be no hope. You'd be like, okay, this football team could fall off the map. Next year, I think is going to be exciting because not only does Dan Campbell have so much motivation to get back there, but the schedule is going to force this football team to execute and practice at a high level. You're going to be playing the 49ers, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Texans, who are all going to be looking to kick your ass. So I think that Dan Campbell, with the coaching staff that he's going to put together, is no way going to be satisfied with what they just did. They can't be. Dan Campbell's a guy that if he has a level of success, he's going to be looking to move forward. He's the right guy. You got the right general manager. And I never look to what other teams in the league are doing because half of them don't have a clue in order to how to build a football team. This football team looks like they're doing everything right. And now we get an opportunity to see how they break down a good football team and what kind of tweaks are they going to make.
Yeah, I guess I would ask the question, is it a missed opportunity if you have no shot of ever competing for a championship? Is it a missed opportunity if you leave training camp knowing you have no shot? That's not a missed opportunity. You're just an also-ran.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, of course, when it comes to, there's teams that you knew from the beginning, teams that ended up with like 4, 3, 5 wins. There's, like I said, there's levels to this. With the Lions, I think it actually was a missed opportunity because most teams don't have 17-point leads in the NFC Championship game. The Lions themselves, whether they get back, whether they win it, whether they don't, they'll probably never have a 17-point NFC Championship halftime lead. So for all the positive that we want to take away, it is still a missed opportunity, which is why I think we're going to look back at this season as a massive success and a missed opportunity. To me, it's the extreme version of both. Does that make sense?
Total sense. And you know what? Yep. Really, that is the proper answer. It's a missed opportunity and a successful season. But I go back to whichever way you swing, successful season or missed opportunity, it's an individual thing. We all think differently. We all view this team differently. So we're going to have people on both sides of the equation. One other thing, young man, the 2024 season, it would be the first full year where the entire NFL will say, hey, the Lions are good. We have to pay attention to them from day one. They could kick our ass if we're not careful. Even this year, we all here in Detroit thought they were going to be good, but I still heard around the league, I keep hearing the Lions are going to be good, but I want to see it. Next year, you're not going to get any of that. You're going to get from day one, okay, these guys are good. We got to bring our A game, and I think teams will bring their A game against the Lions. Just like now and then the Lions bring their A game or brought their A game against teams. That's why over the course of the years, we would say, damn, how did the Lions beat Dallas in Dallas? How did the Lions do this or do that? It's because they got up for certain games and the Lions won games they shouldn't have won. There's going to be times in the next few years where we're going to see maybe a team like Carolina or the Bears, whoever it might be, who's going to beat the Lions. And we're going to be, whoa, where'd that come from? That's because these teams are in where the Lions used to be, and they're going to raise their game up to a different level.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. We would always say in the past with the Lions, be cautiously optimistic. Now we can kind of take away that cautiously. Be optimistic. Have faith in your football team. And you also, too, have to give credit to the 49ers. Ayuk, Purdy, Bosa, they made plays, and they raised their level. The Lions obviously have a lot of inexperience in those key moments. And obviously, when you look at it, playing on the road, once the momentum swung, it just became a tidal wave where it was a complete collapse from coaching all the way down to the roster. And it's tough because you were right there. But I think the more you talk about it, the more you can smile that this football team is going to create a lot more memories. And look, and the good thing, too, is these guys are all going to get paid. They're going to be happy. And I think that what Dan Campbell said is tried and true. They're going to create more competition in that locker room. They're going to find more dogs to get out there and bring the thing home. And my goodness, could you imagine? Look, it's not too bad to party in Vegas, but if you get to party in New Orleans, that's just as fun. And I think this football team has a good enough chance to get down there and celebrate and have a good time. Hey, Terry, me and you will go down there in New Orleans. I'll load up on the beads, and we'll have a good time in New Orleans next year.
All right, and don't be a bitch. You better do some shots too.
Oh, Terry, I ain't no bitch, man. You ain't gonna let this bitch walk. I'll be okay.
I hear you.
Hey, referencing one of the most legendary moments in Valenian Foster history. To go back to old time, nice drop there, John. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the positive spin that you put on it at the end, and always good to talk to you. Always feel better about the Lions, and even on weeks where they lose, I always feel better after chopping it up with you and of course everybody in here. So thank you so much, John. Enjoy the first part of the off season. You have earned it.
Yeah, no doubt. Those extra 3 weeks were tough. Thank you guys for having me. I love talking football. Let's do it again real soon. TFos, Flannel, the voice of TikTok, JB, and the man covering the Pistons, Kool-Aid. Y'all are killing it. Let's go.
Thank you,
All right,
bro.
thanks a lot, man.
Thank you so much.
That is Doc Mac.
Yes,
or
that is
the
Doc
Mac Doctor.
Man, when he really like brings it up,
he's a little low key guy. You know, he's real quiet and.
Yeah, he's the man. Like I love when the Doc is on, and when he really brings it up, we kind of do have a embarrassment of riches on the morning show, no matter who is here, mainly because of JB and Kool-Aid. But you know what also is an embarrassment of riches? Lady Jane's, because they give these A+ haircuts, and they get them from the A+ stylist. Come to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience. Register to win a trip of your dreams and all expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament. That's right, no expense spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. And before we go to break, when we come back, we got some Michigan topics we could bring up. We can take some more phone calls, some more Lions topics. We will be right back. The Morning Woodward Show.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
We aren't quite sure if they consume more beer or sports. Either way, the heavyweights are here. Live on Woodward Sports, daily 5 to 7 p.m.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Company has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network, and we spent an hour chopping it up with the people, chopping it up with the Doc, John Maakaron, about the Detroit Lions, and just our thoughts on how the season ended, their future, how we coped with the loss, and that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to talk to all of you guys, and of course the Doc, and of course Terry, JB, and Kool-Aid as well.
You know what I'm proud of today?
Who are you proud of?
You.
Oh, why
you got on the Beatles shirt.
Hey, you know what?
I like it too.
The Beatles are the greatest band of all time. That's one thing that I will die on that hill forever. I'm as big of a Beatles nerd as you can possibly be. That is what I am.
I'm stunned. I was gonna ask, do you know who the Beatles are?
I do know who the Beatles are. This isn't just for show. This isn't just trying to be cool or anything like that.
Let me just wear this cool T-shirt of some band.
Oh no, I'm a Beatles. I got all the albums, all the CDs, all the documentaries, all of that. Just my house is just, it's all. My two greatest loves are sports and the Beatles. And my greatest love when it comes to sports, great segue, is Michigan football. And Michigan they're having quite the off season. They're obviously coming off of a national championship, which I will never forget, and I will never let you guys forget because it was awesome and it was a long time coming. But they did lose Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh took with him Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator, and their strength and conditioning coach, Ben Herbert. But they did make a hire that I think is probably what most of the fan base wanted. Michigan has hired Sherrone Moore as their head coach. He was the offensive coordinator last season, offensive line coach, and also coached Michigan through 4 games. He coached the Bowling Green one and then the Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State game, and they were 4-0 in those games. And when you're filling in for Jim Harbaugh, even if he's doing the coaching throughout the week, it's a pressure cooker to go on the road into Happy Valley and call a good game, especially when they found out on the plane going to the game that Jim Harbaugh was not going to coach. It was a pressure cooker facing Ohio State at home when those are the type of wins that Michigan needed in order to get to the college football playoff. And for me, it was 100% the right hire. That's who I wanted from the beginning. I didn't want a national coaching search. I think with a national coaching search, you risk getting somebody who the players who are currently on the team don't want to play for. They want to leave. There's a mass exodus. I mean, you even saw it at a school like Alabama, who when Nick Saban retired and they brought in Kalen DeBoer, Caleb Downs left, transferred to Ohio State. Isaiah Bond, probably their best upcoming wide receiver for the next season, he left. They lost a bunch of 5-star recruits. And I think Sherrone Moore, with him being hired here, at least you're going to get the continuity of the roster. You have somebody who's had experience coaching the offensive line more specifically, which has been a strength of Michigan for the last 3 years, and he has that experience actually coaching on game day. And one thing that I thought was interesting, and a lot of you are going to make fun of me for this, but I don't care. I actually went to the Michigan basketball game on Saturday against Iowa. I know that.
Wow.
Watching that dumpster fire. But one of the reasons I went, other than that, it's a fun afternoon with my wife, and Ann Arbor's a hell of a city, and
So you made your wife go?
I didn't want to.
You know she didn't want to go.
I mean, college basketball isn't her favorite thing, but I took her to dinner afterwards. I mean, it's give and take at all of that.
That wasn't nice of you. You know good and damn well there's no woman in this state that wants to go to a Michigan basketball game on their date.
Especially not this year, right? But you know what? She was a trooper, and we did have a dinner afterwards. And yeah, Mike G, Michigan has basketball. This year, I wish that they didn't. But here's one of the other reasons that I went, because that was the day where Sherrone Moore was introduced in a press conference, and he actually spoke at halftime of the game and got a thunderous ovation, by the way. But one thing that I noticed, which I think is one of the reasons why you want a guy like Sherrone Moore, guess who else was there supporting him? Donovan Edwards was there. He was on the court as well. He actually spoke after Sherrone Moore was done speaking. Colston Loveland was there. Kenneth Grant was there. Mason Graham was there. Rod Moore was there. Those are 5 of your best players coming back that are probably going to stay because Sherrone Moore is the coach. I think that this is a team that is set up to at least be very good next year, at least defensively. I think with Sherrone Moore coming back, they will at least have roster continuity. You're not going to lose too many players. And I think that this is a team that can at least win 9-10 games next year. I don't think they're going to repeat as national champions, but I think Sherrone Moore has the experience. He has the respect of the players. He has the roster continuity, as I've always said, because here's another thing that it was one of the reasons I didn't want a national coaching hire. We've experienced that before. Remember, Bo Schembechler, coach from 1969 to 1989. They then promoted Gary Moeller from the staff, and when Gary Moeller was forced out, he had a bad night at a bar. Lloyd Carr, who was on his staff, continued to coach. He ended up taking over as the head coaching job, and from 1969 to 2007, Michigan was a very successful program. They won a bunch of Big Tens. They won a national championship, and they made a bowl game pretty much every year. When they decided to go national and get the hot name, they got Rich Rodriguez, and we all know how that worked out. So to me, Sherrone Moore was a slam dunk hire. I think he's going to be a success. But as somebody who has been around the team a lot longer than me, how did you feel about the Sherrone Moore hire?
Well, I liked it from the standpoint of I think he's going to not reintroduce toughness, but he's going to make sure toughness remains an integral part of that program. And the other thing is, yeah, I agree with the continuity, but my only worry about this is the expectations placed on him by fans. Let's say he wins 10 games, and let's say he, let's say he loses to Ohio State and finishes second in the Big Ten. Is he on the hot seat with Michigan fans? Because we had a situation with Michigan State where they hired Bobby Williams, and that didn't work out because he gave him that big bowl victory over Florida, but then he was a disaster. It's always tough to replace a legend. Now, maybe I'm overstepping my bounds, but do you believe Jim Harbaugh is a legend at the University of Michigan?
The legend. The ultimate legend, yes.
Okay. It's always hard to replace the legend.
Yes.
It's always the guy after the guy that replaces him that has success.
Yeah, and that's where I think fans are going to have to, and I'd like to think that they will. They're not going to expect national championships in year one. I think, and this is just me, a lot of people might disagree, that winning one in Jim Harbaugh's last year, it's going to give Sherrone Moore some leeway to figure things out, because as much as the defense is bringing people back, the offense lost almost all of their starters. They lost a lot of key players defensively, and I don't expect this to be a team that wins the national championship next year. And to veer off topic a little bit.
What about the Big Ten?
The Big Ten, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I expect them to finish maybe top 4. I know that doesn't sound like huge expectations, but with Oregon coming in, with Washington coming in, with Ohio State bringing a bunch of transfers in, I think they're going to be pretty good. Penn State, it's going to be a tough Big Ten.
because Michigan no longer has a 2-game schedule as they've had the last few years. Now, you got to play USC, UCLA, Oregon, in addition to Ohio State and Penn State.
And Texas this year, too. So it's going to be tough.
That's right.
Washington. Yeah, Washington, I believe, is that's an away game, too. That's going to be tough. And, you have to have expectations not to win a national championship or anything like that. And I think that the fans they'll be nice to Sherrone Moore at least immediately, because I think we all respect what he did, how he, in a lot of ways, stabilized the season, where if he didn't do as good of a job on game day coaching, maybe Michigan doesn't beat Penn State. Maybe they don't beat Ohio State, because those were games that were in peril for lots of the games. So to me, it's an absolute slam dunk. And in the chat, I mostly see the same thing, that it's pretty much universally considered a good hire. Mike G, one of the biggest Michigan fans that is in the chat, and Sherrone will do well. The key is activating the NIL and expanding his recruiting staff, which he's doing already. Of course, that's going to be as big as anything, because we need to continue to get the good players. And what else? Who else do we have in the chat? You also have Texas, Chuck Brewer. It's going to be a gauntlet of a schedule this year. But as far as me goes, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'll get Kool-Aid's opinion after this. We've already talked about it a lot. I'm cool because Michigan won one. I don't have high expectations that Sherrone Moore's got to win another one this year or else he's a bum. That's not me at all. Kool-Aid, how are you feeling about Sherrone Moore?
You know what? The national championship definitely allows us to kind of feel a little bit better about where this thing could be headed. But what I'm hoping is, more so than can he get back to the national championship this season, is can he build the program appropriately? Michigan is losing a lot right now in terms of its head coach, in terms of some of his coordinators and position coaches and such. And that's where I believe on the recruiting trail. That's where my mind is at right now, because the health of the program is going to be based on what Sherrone Moore can do, not just to lead the players on the field, but the strength and conditioning coach. He's gone as well too. These people made huge impacts within the Michigan program, and I'm hoping that Sherrone Moore has the chops to be able to make sure
they'll be good with a strength and conditioning coach. He's not the only guy with steroids. All right, so they'll bring somebody else in with steroids and make everybody better.
But it's like, that's where I'm at. I do believe this year could be a down year. I think they have enough to compete for the Big Ten. Ohio State does this every year, where they bring in these players that are supposedly higher ranked, but Michigan has been able to, over the last 2-3 seasons, coach them up. Can Sherrone Moore do that? Can he find that extra gear for University of Michigan? I am going to hold him to that. I don't believe that they are obviously national championship caliber, but I do believe even with the new additions coming over, they should be a team that can compete with the tops of the Big Ten.
Now, he will be scrutinized more than Jim Harbaugh was when he took over. Let's forget the national championship. Does Sherrone Moore have to get them in the college football playoffs next year? It's not a 4-team thing anymore. It's 12.
Yeah.
Does he have to do that for the season to be a success?
I don't think so, but I think to some he does. I like, and like I said, I feel like I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but a national championship was really, really big to me. I wouldn't care. I don't necessarily care if they go 8-4 for the next couple of years. And I know that sounds like maybe I have that a bad mentality or something like that, but I don't necessarily need a dynasty. I just wanted one. For so long, I had to hear about how only won half a national championship in 1997, had to share it with Nebraska. Before that, it was 1948. They can never win Rose Bowls or anything like that. So I'm still pretty damn happy, and I'm not going to apologize for that. And another thing that I don't want to hear about, and I know Ohio State, and I've mentioned this before, I know Ohio State got a lot of players in the transfer portal. They have a lot of players coming back, and I mentioned that they're going to be certainly competitors with Michigan in the Big Ten. I don't want to hear Ohio State fans try to diminish anything we did. I don't want to even hear about them. I don't want to hear about Will Howard. I don't want to hear about Quinshon Judkins. I don't want to hear about JTT. I don't want to hear about Emeka Egbuka, because this season, you guys actually, the burden on proof is on you to do it, because the pressure is all on you guys. And I get tired of hearing Ohio State fans chirping. I get tired of hearing Michigan State fans chirping with Jonathan Smith and Aiden Childs, who, by the way, mark my words, when Aiden Childs has a couple of big games in September, there are going to be serious MSU fans who are going to be saying that he is the better Aiden in the state of Michigan. I guarantee you. I don't want to hear from those people as of right now, because now Michigan is on top.
You can't talk. How many guys have won the September Heisman at Michigan?
I mean, quite a few.
Okay. That's the stuff that you create.
I know, but they were 4-8, and they act like Jonathan Smith and Aiden Childs are just gods or something like that. I'm sorry. I can't stand Michigan State fans. I think that Michigan State football fans are the absolute worst in college football. The fact that they felt emboldened to talk a bunch of crap was just insane.
To do? We need to have you and my wife have dinner. She is the worst Michigan State fan. She'll be watching State play, and State might be getting drilled 31-7 by somebody, but she's happy because Michigan is losing 7-0 to Indiana in the first quarter.
Oh my God!
I'm like, girl, worry about your own program. What's this Michigan stuff? But she said if Michigan beat Alabama, which they did, she said she's gonna stop hating on Michigan for a while, and she's done it so far.
She has. Okay,
she's done that. I'm proud of her.
Well, and.
Before you do, I got a big question.
Yeah.
Who's gonna win the Big Ten next year?
Who's gonna win the Big Ten? I think it's going to be between Ohio State and Oregon, personally. And that's not a shot at Michigan. That's not me trying to say that after I said I don't want to hear from Ohio State. I still respect their talent. I respect who they brought in. I respect who they brought back. They need to do it because they are the most talented team in the Big Ten right now. And Michigan, I do think their offense might struggle initially, or we don't know who their quarterback is or anything like that. Because on their offense, they're basically returning Donovan Edwards, Colston Loveland, who are damn good players, but them two and no one. It's all about that defense next year. So I expect it to be either Ohio State or Oregon. Sue me, Michigan fans, but that's just what I think.
No, I think that's a good take, in my opinion. But I thought leading into the Michigan-Ohio State game last year, there were a lot of national pundits and a lot of people out there who said last year that Ohio State was the more and better talented team, the more complete team with their head coach on the sideline and Jim Harbaugh not. And Michigan all season, in my opinion, leading up to national championship caliber and winning, they continue to coach up and coach up and coach up and get the best out of. I saw somebody I think Matthew Kruger said it as well. They get these 3- and 4-star recruits, and they were able to have them playing at a level, especially with the game plan, that allowed them to not just compete, but knock off the best of the Big Ten. They went into Happy Valley. They took care of business. And I know they were a more talented team, but I believe that also has a lot to do with what these coaches were able to do. And if Sherrone Moore has been taking notes, handpicked by Jim Harbaugh himself to be on the staff and got the endorsement to be the coach moving forward, I want to see the coach make a difference. I do. I get it. It's his first year, first full year as head coach. But I want to see the coach make a difference this year. We've seen coaches in the past.
Yeah, I hear you. But I understand why some people would pick Ohio State.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Michigan had all kinds of junk in their trunk last year. They had the Harbaugh stuff. They had the cheating scandal. And there's a lot of teams that would disintegrate. So damn, people scrutinize this too much, and it'd be too much chatter in the locker room. Like, I don't like noise around football programs. There's a lot of noise around Michigan's football program. But what they did is they were able to galvanize and do the Michigan against the world, or whatever you want to call it thing. But everybody can't do that. So that, to me, is probably the most unique thing with Michigan. So, other teams may have finished 4th or 5th in the Big Ten. Maybe other teams would have got drilled by Ohio State and Penn State because they had too much on their plate. But they're like, we're using this. We're a band of brothers. And they meant it, and it carried them a long way.
Well, and I'm glad that they did that, because I think with everything that went on in the program last year, the only way that they were not going to get clowned in the offseason, the only way was if they won the national championship. That's the only thing that they possibly could have done to, I would say, validate everything and maybe not everything, but shut a lot of people up. Because even after the Rose Bowl win over Alabama, which I was happy about. Everybody saw my reaction on camera, but we also saw how nervous I was during the Michigan-Washington national championship game when Michigan was kind of letting Washington hang around too long, playing with their food a little bit, is that I knew that no matter what, no matter how great Michigan's season already was, no matter that they beat Ohio State, no matter that they destroyed Michigan State, no matter that they beat Alabama and vanquished some SEC demons, if they didn't win that game, it would have been open season on Michigan throughout all of offseason. So the way that they were able to galvanize, that's a credit to the coaching staff and the players.
I will say this, because I wanted to ask this question, or at least make a statement. Something that I want to see out of Michigan football next year, and I want to get you guys' opinion on if you think it's something they can take in the next year, is there certain aspects of identity that I think, regardless of your talent level, regardless of the coaches there or not, you have to show forth as a football team. This is a tough sport. Are you going to step out on that field and continue to be tough? Are you going to step out on that field and continue to be physical, continue to be nasty? Because that's what that defense was. They put Michael Penix through hell. Yeah, we talked about it all watch party, that they were beating him up. And as that game went on, we started seeing his passes kind of sail a little bit, be less on point and less on target. And I think these are the types of attributes and consistent and sure of your game plan and your play calling. I think these are some of the attributes that allow a team that has lost a little bit of talent to be able to play a little bit above where their mark is. Do you believe that Michigan still has that identity? This is something that I'm hoping that the connection.
I think that's what Sherrone. That's his identity, toughness. Let's do it in the trenches. And Michael Penix Jr., man, he walked off that field, he looked like somebody's granddaddy.
Yes,
not granddaddy, grandpappy.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like, because he could barely move.
He could barely move, and we talk about that. And we even talked about the week before where Michigan sacked Jalen Milroe 6 times. And yeah, I think they're still going to have that identity. One thing that is going to be tough, they are going to have to replace Jesse Minner as their defensive coordinator, but they do have a lot of returning talent, at least so we think. Hopefully nobody decides to leave. But as I mentioned before, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, and Rod Moore, they were all out there on the Chrysler Center court supporting Sherrone Moore in his address to the Michigan basketball crowd. So hopefully that means that they will.
Sammy, I want to challenge you.
What's up?
You're all behind Sherrone Moore, right?
Yes.
If it were possible, and if he were interested, and the last 2 candidates were Sherrone Moore and Urban Meyer, who would you pick?
Oh my God.
This is tough.
I see a little hesitation.
Urban Meyer. Yeah. Hey, hold on. He is one of the greatest college football coaches ever. When we were talking about national,
Detroit's anti-hero.
Yes. When we were talking about,
he hates Michigan and Michigan hates him. Is that going to work?
If you have the chance, but we don't. That's not That's not a real possibility. But if it was, I would consider it, just because he is the best. He's one of the best college coaches ever. When we were talking about national coaching searches on other shows, names like Lance Leopold were brought up, or Eli Drinkowitz, and whoever from Wake Forest. I mean,
John L. Smith.
Right, like, I mean, just guys that really didn't excite me much. Urban Meyer is a different level than all of that.
Oh,
but for
man.
the record,
Whoa, stop. I want to make fun of Flannel. Here's what I heard. Hey, guys, there was only one choice for this program, and that was Sherrone Moore. Nobody else in the world could do this. This was the man for Michigan. I'm 100% behind it. Okay, what if you could get Urban Meyer? Sherrone Moore, go to hell.
not go to hell.
Man, you punted Sherrone Moore to the moon pretty quick.
Oh, come on. It's Urban Meyer.
He punted my man.
It's Urban Meyer. We're not talking about Ryan Day or somebody like that. We're talking about Urban Meyer. And I'm happy with Sherrone Moore. I know what you guys are trying to do.
Real talk, it's a painfully respectable take, though.
Yes. And love you, Sherrone. Love you, man. Love you for what you did. Don't take that any way that I was just making a hypothetical statement. And on that note, you know what else? What isn't hypothetical? Swiss Insurance. Because do you have football on the brain? We certainly do, with everything that's been going on in the state of Michigan in football. You'd be crazy not to, but that also means it's the perfect time to shop home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Market Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Hi, my diamonds. It's Crystal with an X. You want to get hot and perfect like me? Here's my super easy routine. Drink at least a gallon of water before you wake up. Attach a weight to everything in your house. Hello? Sell your car and just sprint everywhere. Scream when you exhale.
Don't follow Crystal with an X. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join now for just $10 a month and cancel anytime.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
What up, Woodward Sports? Dispo Dispensary is bringing you the ultimate experience for the big game in Vegas, and they want you there. You can win 2 tickets to the big game, plus a flight, hotel, and accommodations by following these simple steps. First, follow dispo.michigan, @showmedicated, and @showmedicatedcbd on Instagram. Like Dispo's pinned post, comment and tag someone you love to bring. Plus, if you repost on your story, you get an extra entry. It's that easy. Join the Dispo family for a chance to score in Vegas. The big game awaits. Follow, like, tag, and repost now.
Hey, are you tired of wearing those same old Detroit sports merch? Well, it's a new era in sports wearables, new designs, amazing apparel, and the ultimate swag. Check out Woodward Sports' latest gear at woodwardsports.com. Click on that shop tab. We got hoodies, we got tees, we got hats, anything to turn heads at your next tailgate. Get the latest designs today at woodwardsports.com. Click on that shop tab.
Welcome back to
What the hell is going on around here? How come every time JB does the Woodward Sports merch, he gets a southern accent? What is up with that? Dude, he come here every day talking like a brother. Hey, what up, TA? Hey, my man, what up? Hey, look, give me. Then he does the Woodward thing. Yeah. Oh, hey guys, you want some sports merch?
It's my ad read voice.
Everybody's got an ad read voice.
Ad read voice, you know.
He's a pro's pro, man.
He sound like Minnie Pearl.
Yep. And,
howdy.
And Terry Foster, see what you did. Breaking news. This is from Just a Fan. Flannel Sam hates Sherrone Moore and demands to be replaced by Urban Meyer.
That's factual.
You know what? We were talking during the break, and I know Flannel's going to deny this. Now he says Sherrone Moore should be fired.
Terry, I'll make the graphic for socials and put it up.
Come on!
Okay. Per Flannel Sam.
No, that is...
I like Sherrone Moore for 60 seconds.
and Shane D. Meyer is probably a better coach, in my opinion. I mean, objectively, he has a better resume. But I am very, very happy, extremely happy with Sherrone Moore. He is as good of a hire as I could have asked for with what was realistic as, and that's kind of what I what I meant by it, as far as the realistic names go, Sherrone Moore was the best.
As Buckwheat would say, "Oh, Tay," whatever you say.
And Chuck Brewer again. Sam is calling for Moore to be fired already. Come on. Eduardo O'Neill, can we talk about what the goalposts / expectations are for next year? And I'll just go over it briefly because that's I kind of touched on it already. I'd say for Michigan football, I would like to see anything lower than 8 wins. To me would be bad. I personally, and I've talked about this off air with some of the Michigan State people here and some of the Michigan people here. I think the thing that could knock me out of my national championship haze is if Michigan were to somehow, some way lose at home to Michigan State, and then Michigan State fans would get to chirp about how you guys won a natty and then next year couldn't even beat us. So that would be the one thing that could take me from being kind of just chilling and like, yeah, we won a natty last year. I'm just kind of coasting to anxious and nervous again. But
yeah, but you can't. I mean, it's a natty. You can't take that away.
No, of course
people can't really make fun of you.
No, of course you can't take that away.
Are there must wins for you besides just the Michigan State game? Because that's actually pretty interesting. What is
the one game they must win? Let's say Michigan goes 1-12, which won't happen. What's the one game they got to win?
Michigan State. I know a lot of people are going to disagree and say Ohio State, but Ohio State's on the road. We've beaten them 3 years in a row. It's just with Ohio State. Even though Michigan is coming off of the national championship and Ohio State is coming off of a loss to Michigan and then a pretty humiliating loss in a bowl game, even though they didn't play all their starters, only scoring 3 points, it's still the pressure is on Ohio State. They had a chance at home in 2022 and they lost by 22 points. They had a chance, and all you ever hear about is how Ohio State is just focused on Michigan, just 364 days. And for 2 consecutive years following the 2021 Michigan win, Ohio State hasn't been able to get it done. So to me, the pressure is all on them. When it comes to Michigan State's coming off of a 4-8 year, and Michigan can't lose to them. They just can't. They can't.
Here's my thought on this. I know Michigan fans, oh no, we want to beat Ohio State. You got to beat. And probably they mention Ohio State because if you beat Ohio State, you're probably going to win the Big Ten.
Sure.
But in the grand scheme of things, if I'm a Michigan fan, I want to beat Michigan State more than Ohio State. Ohio State, if you lose, yeah, you got to hear a little bit. But Michigan State, they're such assholes, and they just biting you all year. You go to work. There's a Michigan State person making fun of you, going,
it's their Big Ten championship.
So I would want to shut up people who I see every day. Ohio State people, you're not going to see them.
No.
Although my neighbors, they went to Ohio State.
Hey. And Chuck Brewer actually says if they go 1-12 and that one win was over Ohio State, their fans would burn down the stadium and Ryan Day would be fired at the end of the game. And I'll tell you what.
And they fire you too.
If Ohio State loses to Michigan this year under any circumstances, I think Ryan Day's probably gone. The only exception would be if Ohio State loses to Michigan and still wins the national championship, because there's a 12-team playoff. They're probably still going to make it. But this season at home, when they've got all of the transfers coming in, they've got all the players returning, and Michigan, at least the perception is that everyone is leaving. It's part perception, part reality, but they've got more players leaving than Ohio State does. This is the year where Ohio State certainly has to do it. But, yeah, it's always going to be Michigan State with me, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I can't stand those people. Not even trying to be a dick. I just don't like them. And LOL, Terry, this who farted is spitting facts about MSU fans, and that's true. And Kool-Aid, maybe I'm crazy, but didn't it seem like they did a lot of chirping this year for continuing to just pile up L's?
And an amazing amount of chirping this year, man. The Michigan State fans have been insufferable, man. Absolutely insufferable.
See, I disagree with that because they had to focus on their sexual misconduct coach. I mean, they had so much that they had to deal with internally.
It's like it didn't even matter. It didn't even happen in their world, though.
No, it did. State fans, trust me, bro. my son goes to school up there, and that was huge.
Yeah, and they were able. The funny thing though is, and this is where I have to give Michigan State some credit, they were able to get out of it, and I think get a better coach and get a better, because Mel Tucker just wasn't that guy. I think that all Michigan State fans were kind of, or not all, but some were kind of sick of him all already because of the season, even for the previous season where after 2021, that magical year with Kenneth Walker, they follow up with a losing record and no bowl games.
I do have a question for Terry Foster. Since he's more neutral here, he is our Fire Up Chips CMU representative. You sit in a position to where you've seen both of these teams. You haven't necessarily rooted for them. Just a Fan says that MSU, the Spartans, that they do have a little brother mentality. Do you think that's true?
It is true. Ooh. They do have but let me say this. The fan base does, but the football team, when they were good, I used to talk to Johnny Golston, who was the defensive lineman there. He would go to school up there and talk to players up there, and he would always say this. There's a lot of times when Michigan was better than Michigan State, but he said if Michigan players and their fan base started talking little brother the weekend or the week before the game, he said the locker room got invigorated. They're like, we're going to kick their ass. We don't care how good they are. And so his thing is, man, you better tell your boys in Ann Arbor to shut up. Don't bring up that little brother shit because that gets the players all pissed off. And so there were times Michigan State probably should have lost to Michigan, but they started the little brother stuff. And for whatever reason, Michigan State got all swolled up and stuff. But the fan base for Michigan State for years, even before you were born, was like this. It's always, you love Michigan more than us, which is true, which is probably true. I would say in this area where we live, it's probably 70-75% Michigan and 30-25% Michigan State. But the other thing they think is that the media treats Michigan better, that if something scandalous happens at Michigan, that the media hides it. That's not true. It is reported in the paper, but the thing is, I covered Michigan football for a year, and there was stuff that was going on, but shoot, it was hell trying to get it. I've dealt with the police in East Lansing. Police in East Lansing just give you what you want. So if somebody had a gun, oh, here it is. What you gonna do with it? So you just print it. In Michigan, they had, this goes back to Bo Schembechler. He was like, no, this is not coming out. And he would call the police, and everything stayed below, level and stuff. Is that they weren't interested in denigrating their program. In Michigan State, the police is like, we give you what you want.
Yeah,
big difference.
That's that's inside information from Terry Foster, which is very, very credible. And I'm gonna respond to a lot of this in a second, but first I gotta tell you about Big Boy. Wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy. Try the veal parmigiana or the new Southern Comfort chicken bowl. How about breakfast? The stuffed potato pancakes are back. The classic lumberjack or Santa Fe Garde. Also new apple pie hotcakes that are too good to miss. Top it all off with a new gingerbread shake for dessert. Shop by your local Big Boy today.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles, and with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
We aren't quite sure if they consume more beer or sports. Either way, the heavyweights are here. Live on Woodward Sports, daily 5 to 7 p.m.
Feldman Chevrolet, Detroit's #1 Chevy dealer. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and first-class car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. With 18 locations, there's a Feldman dealership in your backyard. Visit feldmanauto.com to find the location nearest you. Catch Woodward Sports Network live from Feldman Chevrolet of Novi every other Monday. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. The man to my right is the great Terry Foster. We have JB Smoove in the TV booth and Detroit Kool-Aid in the audio booth. And it's funny how you mentioned, and I want to respond to this briefly, about how a lot of those Michigan teams may have been more talented, but Michigan State was galvanized by the whole little brother comment from Michigan. And that is why, as a Michigan fan myself, I've never been a huge fan of uttering little brother. You've never heard me say it. Sometimes when other people say it, I kind of chuckle a little bit because I do think they have an inferiority complex to some degree, Michigan State. But that's why. And a lot of Michigan fans don't like this, and Kool-Aid, I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on it as well. As a football figure, I'm not as big a fan of Mike Hart as some, because he started the whole little brother thing. He was the one who made those comments after the 2007 win, and after that sparked an era of dominance from Mark D'Antonio over whoever Michigan's coach was, whether it's Rich Rod or Hoke, or even the first year with trouble with the snap, Harbaugh. I think, what did Michigan State win? 7 out of the next 8. They went through one of their golden ages, and Michigan went through one of the worst eras in Michigan football history, maybe the worst. And oh, by the way, it wasn't necessarily Mike Hart's fault, but Mike Hart never beat Ohio State once. Neither did Chad Henne, by the way. That era of really talented Michigan teams never beat Ohio State. So to me, Mike Hart, when I talk about Michigan running backs all time, I will put Blake Corum miles ahead of Mike Hart. And oh, by the way, Mike Hart was kind of as slow as molasses. He ran probably a 4.940. I'm not trying to be. I get it, he's on the coaching staff now, but I'm not a Mike Hart guy. Maybe call me crazy.
I know he's that slow.
Yo, you know what, man? I was young. I remember when he said that statement. Michigan was on an all-time high, especially with the rivalry between Michigan and Michigan State. And for a while, it was like, for a little bit, it was like, yo, this is awesome. Yo, he really stepped to the podium and said that. Then when D'Antonio kind of turned that Michigan State program around and we started losing to them, and then all of the fluke stuff, it was like, as I grew in my Michigan fandom, Michigan was kind of on the way down, and Michigan State was kind of king in the state as it related to football. It got to the point where I began to really almost hate the fact that Mike Hart did that. I didn't know if that was necessarily the whole key behind them turning this rivalry around, but it got to the point where hearing that little brother word, especially whenever we would sneak a win during that rivalry, and then all of a sudden Michigan fans would get back to, yeah, little brother, little brother, little brother. It was just like, yo, chill on it, because it hasn't worked.
Yeah, chill. At that time, I was doing a lot of stuff with Michigan State players, and I was talking to them before games. Man, and somebody would mention little brother. Man, you would see players like tense up, like they wanted to beat you up because, well, so-and-so mentioned little brothers, and they were ready, and I knew they're gonna whip some ass.
Yeah, it wasn't a good situation. Like, obviously, if you say that, you have to back that up. And if you back it up, then it changes everything, the entire narrative about what little brother is. It got so, at least to me, to a point where they absolutely disrespected us for attempting to disrespect them, that I don't even want to hear it. Even if we go on like an extended run of just beating Michigan State, I think that word needs to stay, that phrase needs to stay with Mike Hart way back when he said it.
I know this is going to sound extreme, but to me, there's a little bit of a low end of PTSD when it comes to the little brother statement, because I was there. I remember that Michigan State game in 2007. It was a hell of a comeback by Michigan. I remember being a young, how old was I then? Like 15, 16-year-old, borderline bawling my eyes out because it looked like Michigan was going to lose that game. But then they came back and won, and Mike Hart kind of made those comments about how sometimes you got to let your little brother get ahead and feel good, play with your food a little bit, and then come back and win. But after that, it was a source of mockery, as you said, Kool-Aid, from Michigan State fans to Michigan. And at that point, they had the right to. From 2008 to 2015, now that I'm thinking about it, they won every year against Michigan except for 2012. And the funny thing is, the year Michigan won it, they won 12-10 and didn't score a touchdown. Not that that's relevant or anything, but it was a one-sided rivalry for a while, and Michigan went through their worst era ever. And Michigan State, I would say from about 2010 to 2015 was one of their best eras ever. It was 100% miserable, at least for me, and that whole little brother thing. I don't.
But you know what? During that era,
Yeah.
when Michigan State is winning 8 out of 12, the Michigan fans were still arrogant and said, "We're still the better program. We're still gonna kick your ass." During that time of Michigan State dominance, if you want to, you know how many times they were favored to win the game?
Not as often as you think.
Zitters. No, they were never favored when they beat Michigan 8 out of 12 times, and they were never favored. So the perception is, no matter what happens, that Michigan is a better program, a better team than Michigan State, no matter what the circumstances are.
I feel like they were probably favored a couple of times.
No, they weren't.
Just maybe
go back and check. 2014,
Michigan State had to be favored.
Nope.
All right, I'll take. I'll
I'm
take.
telling you, bro.
You know, I'll take your word for it. But even no matter what, I know that in the fan base's eyes, that Michigan was probably like, we're going to kick your ass every year. But they certainly didn't. And one of the reasons why is for some of the years they didn't have a great defense. They should have had Guardian Alarm. It's a new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Company has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com. Now is the moment we've all been waiting for. I didn't even tease it, so it's probably a failure on my part, but we haven't done it so far this week. But today, the return of What's Trending with JB Smooth. Hey.
Now, do we get the JB voice, or is he going to be Brad Paisley?
I don't know. It all depends. My voice is kind of cracking right here right now. But going back to your guys' point this morning when we first started the show, how were Lions fans able to cope with the loss? Well, a lot of people, they turned to Madden for this, and it was not a good sight for the 49ers. That's one of them. 103-0. 497-0.
Ooh, wow.
231-7.
Damn.
Oh, man.
How did he let San Francisco score?
I know. Come on.
No, you know how you get coach? Here's what you should do. You should have Madden start at halftime with the Lions up 14 points, and then you play the Lions how you want to play it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's You know what? That's interesting.
And you probably win more times than not.
There was an old feature, I don't know if it's still on the latest Maddens, called a situation, which means you could kind of put yourself in a deficit and see if you could come back. That would be interesting. But yeah, JB, have you ever done that before? Have you ever, one of the ways you've coped is being like, man, my team lost. Let me just play like easy mode on Madden and beat them like 200-0.
Yep, every Pistons every single Pistons game.
just
so irritated with this team. But apparently it's come to my attention that the NHL All-Star weekend is upon us right now.
Yes.
NHL All-Star Weekend, free lap dances for all the NHL All-Stars. ID is required, of course. Sorry, Connor Bedard.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. I guess Connor Bedard can't go. I mean, maybe they would make an exception for him. I mean, maybe call me a fuddy-duddy, maybe call me a square, but I've never, they're not real. You know what I mean? Strip club women are not real. They don't actually like you. I mean, I guess if it's free, it's a little bit different, but that's always been my thing. Even when some of my friends would want to go to the strip club, I'd be like, why? We could go out to a normal place and meet real women that actually might like you.
Right. It's not like you're going to get any and take it home.
Yeah.
You know, that's not happening.
Here you guys go kill my intrusive thought.
Hey,
I'm supposed to be at All-Star Weekend for the NBA wondering, do they do that for them too?
I'm sure they do.
You know what? The fellas, I went to the strip club one time because my friend, he gets depressed, so he's got to go to the strip club. So this honey is dancing for me. And so after a while, we kind of snuggled up a little bit, and she said, Mr. Foster. I'm like, yeah. She said, no, you did a story on me when I was in high school. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm so embarrassed.
Oh.
She was a former athlete, and I did a story on her, and I just wanted to leave the place. So I'm out of here.
Damn. Your former you must have been so proud, Terry.
Yeah. She said she was just doing it to make money to go to school. So, yeah, you know, that's always the same story.
I guess that article got you places, sweetie.
I said, I hope that article was good.
Nobody
that don't pay for itself. That's all I can say.
Nobody flannel hates strippers. No, I don't hate individual strippers. I just that's just not my cup of tea. Never has been. But hey, if you're
what about prostitutes?
No.
I thought you said the qualification was that you couldn't take the strippers home.
That's right.
No. I'm not paying for it.
You'll be interested in this. In Pontiac somewhere, suppose there's a one-legged stripper.
Oh Lord. Damn, that's
does that interest you?
No. Maybe morbid curiosity, but that's about it. But she must.
Oh, you remember Drew Sharp?
Yeah.
He almost got killed by a stripper.
Oh, you told us that story. But do you want to repeat it for those of us
when we used to go on Michigan State trips, it was me and Boudini and then all the Michigan State crew. They'd always want to go to the strip club. So we're in Iowa. So we go to Iowa, we go to the strip club, and there's this woman named Chesty Malone. She had double M tits. So she was from Detroit area, so we invited her to the table. She came here and she showed us her boobies and everything. And so Drew, for whatever reason, wanted her to slap him in the face with her boobs. So
it's only appropriate.
He's at his little chair and everything. She takes her boobs and smacks him on both sides of his face, and then she kept her breast there, and then like a couple seconds later we see Drew's little hand go up like, I said, what's up with you? He said I can't breathe.
My God.
He couldn't breathe. They were so big and all the air was gone. I thought he was going to pass out. But he just kind of get.
Wow.
Chesty Malone.
That's an all-time story. I know you told it on when you were on Big D Energy before, but I wanted the Morning Woodward Show audience to hear that. That's an all-time. But on that note, Let's come back to a mailbag. And if you guys have any questions about Lions, Michigan, or even Chesty Malone, make sure you put those down there. But first, I have to tell you about Dispo. Experience Dispo Dispensary, a team that curates an unbelievable atmosphere. Dispo is now giving out 2 tickets plus hotel and flight accommodations to this year's big game in Vegas. Go on Dispo's Instagram page at dispo.michigan and follow directions on the pinned post. Or scan the QR code and it will take you there. Let's get you sports fans to Vegas. Dispo Dispensary, disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Thank you to all the fans for making Woodward Sports your #1 online destination for Detroit sports. We promise not to drop the ball.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
What up, Woodward Sports? Dispo Dispensary is bringing you the ultimate experience for the big game in Vegas, and they want you there. You can win 2 tickets to the big game, plus a flight, hotel, and accommodations by following these simple steps. First, follow dispo.michigan, @ShowMedicated, and @ShowMedicatedCBD on Instagram. Like Dispo's pinned post, comment and tag someone you love to bring. Plus, if you repost on your story, you get an extra entry. It's that easy. Join the Dispo family for a chance to score in Vegas. The big game awaits. Follow, like, tag, and repost now.
What happens when you run a great business for over 50 years? You expand and offer more products to more people. This is exactly what Les Stanford did by adding Les Stanford Buick GMC, the same great service that customers have come to know and trust. On Woodward Avenue, just south of 9 Mile, check out Les Stanford in Dearborn today. Find the brand you want at lesstanford.com. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. And what's interesting is last night I was watching Woodward Nights with Broder and Kool-Aid, and they made the announcement. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it on the Morning Woodward Show today that starting next Monday, we're rebranding the show. It is going to be Kool-Aid and Broder and myself. It'll be Kool-Aid and Broder on the desk, myself in the chair, and we are going to have JV Smoove and KG behind the glass. So that is going to be the new morning show moving forward. That is exactly what I wanted given the circumstances. Yeah. I have absolutely loved my time these last couple of weeks working with a variety of people like Terry Foster. It's been an absolute pleasure, but it's going to be fun to get a set crew again and to launch this new show. It is going to be an absolute blast. And I know Kool-Aid and Broder and I have had discussions about it behind the scenes, but we got the green light. How are you feeling, Kool-Aid?
I'm feeling ecstatic about this, man, especially if we got Terry Foster, the program director, behind the scenes, making sure to keep us on the right path. But I think this is going to be an all-star crew. I think it's dynamic. We cover a wide range of Detroit sports, and we got some pretty funny stuff and hijinks up the way, man. I couldn't ask for more. This is kind of what we were hoping behind the scenes, and for the company to really be able to work with us and give us a platform. I believe the people are going to absolutely love it.
Yeah, and don't lose your personality. And JB, don't lose that Southern twang.
I try not to.
I want you coming on down there. Hey, everybody, this is JB.
I'm seeing lots of positive comments for you, Kool-Aid, from Shad and from Mike G. Broder's in the chat, and yes, you, Jan Ayala Nechvi, you guys will do great. Thank you so much. Yeah, that is exactly what I wanted moving forward, and I'm just glad that I saw you guys make the announcement so I could do it as well. And I know we saw something in the chat earlier from Mike G that we never got a chance to get to, so we're gonna get to it during mailbag. So Terry, how do you feel about Michigan hiring their first black head coach?
Well, I'm excited about it because this isn't just a Michigan hiring a black coach. It's Michigan fans accepting that Michigan is going to hire a black coach, because what has happened a lot of times is college sports have been criticized for not hiring black people to run their program. And what has happened a lot of times is the athletic director has decided, I'm going to hire this guy who happens to be black, and the alumni have protested. Some of the influential alumni said, look, no, don't hire this brother. And so they've had to switch up on the fly. This shows me that I was happier to see that Michigan fans were willing to accept him, because I think 20 years ago, Michigan fans would not have accepted Sherrone Moore as their head coach. So this shows progress with the Michigan fans, and I think it became easier with having a black athletic director who's going to hire who he feels should be the coach, and then the alumni say, okay, go ahead, we good. So I think that shows progress, because a lot of times influential alumni block these head coaches. And you know what? I'm going to get more insight on this because in March I'm going to Vegas with members of the Michigan Mafia.
Ooh, okay.
So we'll talk about that and see what their thought was. And I nicknamed these guys the Michigan Mafia because when I was covering Michigan football, they knew everything that was going on with Michigan's football program. I'm like, how come I don't know this stuff? Well, the Michigan Mafia was in with the coaches and with the administration and stuff. So I'm going to talk to them about that in March.
And I think most importantly with that hire is it's not just a hire to try and fill some type of void as it relates to race relations. It's a qualified individual who was handpicked not only by the university and identified as the next coach, but Jim Harbaugh, a lot of these players. I think that's even more important and more impactful as well, kind of the convergence of the two. I think he's very well qualified and has earned his stripes.
Yeah, and the funny thing too is he earned, like you said, he earned it with I think the final straw with him earning it was him taking over as head coach in the last 3 games, beating Penn State and beating Ohio State. And there are only 4 living men right now who have actually beat Ohio State as a Michigan football head coach: Jim Harbaugh, Lloyd Carr, Brady Hoke, and Sherrone Moore. And Jim Harbaugh was leaving, and Michigan is not going to rehire Brady Hoke or Lloyd Carr. So Sherrone Moore already has that victory over Ohio State. He's the only realistic option that had already done that. And for Michigan fans like myself, that carries a lot of weight. And I haven't heard really any.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Here's something.
Yeah.
Who gets credit for beating Ohio State and Penn State? Is that still on Jim Harbaugh's record, or did Sherrone Moore get credit for that?
I think Sherrone Moore gets credit for it.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and he earned it though, because game day coaching, it's not just a walk in the park, especially with him still calling the plays, still being the head coach. That was a hell of a job. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is it wasn't just Sherrone Moore in the first 3 games when Jim Harbaugh was suspended for the first 3 games. Sherrone Moore got a game, Jesse Minter got a game, and I forgot what other coach got a game, but like the 3 different ones got one, but it was Sherrone Moore who was pegged as the one who could coach Michigan, at least on game day, through their 3 toughest games of this season.
So he
yes.
did something
Yes.
that perhaps the other coaches didn't.
Maybe.
And so he got the trust of Jim Harbaugh, and he became the guy that they trusted with Penn State and Ohio State, which is still 2 really big games.
Those are 2 huge games, and there were a lot of people talking about how Michigan can't go into Happy Valley and win this year. This is the year where Ohio State is going to beat Michigan, and Michigan, they got the wins, they got the undefeated season, and Sherrone Moore, I think, will always get, no matter what happens with his tenure as Michigan head coach, I think he will always be a strong and beloved figure in the history of Michigan football, just for stabilizing the team and coaching them on game day during those games. Because with your head coach being suspended, that's tough. With everything what was going on, it's tough. But the program, they decided to galvanize. They decided to unite in a way that I don't know if they ever have, and it worked out. They won the national championship.
Now, do you believe in the whole Michigan man stuff? That, and really to succeed in Michigan, you have to be a Michigan man.
Not necessarily. I know.
Because Rich Rod always fought that. When you say I'm a Michigan man over and over again, it means you're not one. And you realize that, but you have to try to convince people that you're one.
Well, I know that in Rich Rod's tenure that he didn't have all of the backing that he probably needed to or could have. So I think it's easier when it's a Michigan man. I know the funny thing is with the Harbaugh hire, it was the only way that they could go. It was the most perfect hire you could have possibly had. And he was already a Michigan man, their most decorated quarterback in school history, had a lot of success with the 49ers, Stanford, San Diego. So I think it makes it easier. And Sherrone Moore is a Michigan man. And honestly, the track record of it not being a Michigan fan, at least in recent history, was Rich Rodriguez. I don't necessarily think it's you can't be a Michigan coach unless you're a Michigan fan. But
well, Brady Hoke
didn't
work out either.
Brady Hoke did not work out. He was a Michigan
man.
And
he's a Michigan man.
He's a Michigan man.
They wouldn't let my man have headphones.
Good thing.
Oh my God,
man, those were
no.
some days.
They let him wear the headphones one time, but they took the batteries out, so they weren't really working.
Yeah. And Chuck Brewer says Rich Rod was just a terrible coach by the numbers. If he had won, folks would have supported him. And the record speaks for itself. I'm not saying that it was all his fault, but the record was terrible. 3-9, 5-7, 7-6. You've got to go at that point. And speaking of got to go, it is 10:01, and I just saw Neil Rule walk into the building, so we need to vacate the premises.
Yeah, because Neil gonna kick us out.
Neil is gonna kick us out.
He's the president now, right?
But yes, he is. He is president. So we should be standing and saluting at this point. We should be. But again, thank you so much for joining us today and for sticking with us during some interesting times at Woodward Sports. And be sure to tune into next week's morning show when we've got myself, Broder, Kool-Aid, JB, KG. That's a dream team. That's an embarrassment of riches, and it's not because of me. And Matt Broder just walked into the room, so we're gonna
dream team.
Dream team. But this is also a dream team when you got Terry Foster. There he is. There's Matt Broder. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Great job.
We
Sam.
will see you tomorrow. It will be myself and Stick. So that will be the last show before we rebrand. But thank you so much for listening. Tune into all of our other shows Woodward Sports has to offer us. Until next time, until tomorrow, peace.
Peace.